Hello, fearless gamers, and welcome back to another episode of The Joy of Painting Minis. And we're continuing on painting our Vampire Count Lord. Last episode, we painted up the bat a little bit while we waited for the glue on this guy's head to dry. And then we painted up most of the flesh parts with its layer paint. But because the stupid glue and the way the head's positioned, the head fell off, so we had to wait for that to dry so we can continue on. So we're going to be using the following paints that you see on your screen, and let's dive right in. We're going to go right back to painting up the head of this guy using a detail brush. For this, going to take our flesh color that we were using before, and we're going to continue with painting up this guy's head. So again, trick is to leave a little bit of the shaded parts undisturbed. That way we have some nice defined highlights. And to be perfectly honest, I actually find the faces some of the more fun, enjoyable parts of the model to paint. Mainly because it's a very challenging to do. Because you gotta do it just right, or else it just looks weird. And since he's a vampire, it's not too terrible if he looks a little weird, because he's a vampire. Vampires... And this is doing a more traditional vampire, and I see that they depicted looking very weird looking a lot of the times. Very bestial. Or beastly, sorry. Probably be the proper word to use. So... Okay. This is again why it's so important to paint part of him unassembled and then finish up with the model assembled, because now I can see, like I said, where all the shading needs to be on this model, and it makes for painting him going a lot quicker. So we got that done, and I see there's a little bit of where he's supposed to have some flesh shading done that seems to have escaped the first go, so I'm going to take this quick moment to take care of that. Using the shade tone, the shading paint I've been using, touching up these areas that missed out on the wash. That way we can move on without any issue. Alrighty, so now what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go and attempt to paint up his armor. And I'm going to start with this leg piece by itself. That way we can get it set up. So I'm going to base it first with a black color, because black tends to be a very nice shade color for metal. So we're going to go and paint up everything that's going to be a metallic color. And now what's also neat, one thing also here is the fact that he's standing on this mound of dirt and such makes it very important that you paint the armor piece first before painting that dirt piece, because any mistakes you make can just give the illusion that he's standing on the dirt pile. And it's just dirt or something caking up on his armor from him standing there on it. So it's a simple effect that we can get without even trying. And it is a result of just little tiny mistakes that we made. And those mistakes end up being artistically sound and some may even saw really great looking effects that you're done, when all it is just you being a little messy painting the dirt and sand part of the model here. Okay. And it looks like part of the super glue was still wet. Yes, I tried to super glue this onto the base before I started, and that was to no avail. I noticed that the way that the model's built, he's got to be assembled and then put on the base. So that's what we're gonna do. So again, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to paint this guy black. Then I'm gonna apply the first metallic coat. Probably then gonna coat it in a wash, and then glue him together, and then apply highlights. That way, again, makes it easier to see where the highlights should go on the model, and less stuff that we have to worry about. Essentially, it removes a good chunk of the thinking, because you don't have to sit there visualizing it. You can just see on the model where the shadows would fall, and in essence what you do is you kind of treat like your brush as your light source. If you can't get it in to the spot to paint your layer color, then it's most likely that is going to be a spot that you should create a shadow, because that's an area that your brush, aka your light source, cannot reach. Black base coat is pretty much finished. Okay, next gonna go and... So we got that done. Next we're gonna go back to the main body here and paint his armor on his person. Then Then after that, we're going to paint up all the metal bits, metal, and move on from there. And when we get to the armor piece of this is when it's going to get interesting, because I found a new paint. Well, new to me, it's probably been out for a while. I found this paint that proposes something very interesting, and I want to give it a look. And since this is going to be and since part of the purpose of the show is to try out new techniques and trying out new products and such, I'm going to give it a shot on this guy. It's not made by GW, but I'm just going to see how well it works with GW paint. I bought it for my Infinity models, but when I decided that I'm going to do this Vampire Count model, I said to myself, you know what, let's give this, wonder how this would work on other GW colors and how it would turn out. So we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. And so, gonna go on here. As the recording of this episode, it's January of the new year here, and so we didn't talk about this really on the podcast, but I like to try and have my own types of New Year's resolutions, and so I figure I'll say what some of them are here. And first and foremost is to improve on my health habits. I eat a lot of junk food and I drink a lot of soda, so I've been trying to cut down on my soda intake. That way, it's just a little bit healthier. I do have some kidney stone problems, so it'll benefit my kidneys if I cut down on the soda. And also, it's just something that really just also teeth, habit, health, and all that other jazz. It's just a good thing to try and cut out how much soda one drinks in daily. And another is to try and start working out a little bit more, get a little into shape. That way, look a little nicer and stuff like that. And another is to get a new job. I've been working at the same place for 7 years now, and I have not moved up once. And it has become very apparent that moving up is probably not a possibility, just because that's what they've decided. So, I have been looking around. It's been a New Year's resolution for a while, but it looks like this year may be the year that I finally get that out that I've been looking for. So, I'm hoping, got a couple of things in the works right now, and we'll see how they pan out. And so I'm curious with you fearless gamers, you have any New Year's resolutions? Another one, gaming-wise. Want to either, by the end of the year, own a Phantom Titan or a 4x6 table of Zone Mortalis sets. That is my big gaming resolution is I want to try and get that to happen. So, what about you guys? Do you guys have any resolutions that you've got working, that you're trying to see if you can make things happen, or anything of note that you want to share? Feel free, leave it in the comments. See what everyone's plans are for the year. It can be gaming related, could be non-gaming related. Another gaming related one is to try and get an army completely finished. And when I mean completely finished, have it up to the point where it's just buying minis just for the fun of it. You know, bolstering the forces, in a sense. Right now, I've got a lot of armies that are on the cusp of that, but none of them are full on. I can just play whatever I want. A lot of them are still in that they're in that unfinished state, and I want to try and get it where at least one of these armies is at a point in its status where I can call it officially like done, and everything from here on in is just add-on stuff, just thrown in, you know, oh, an extra mini there, an extra mini there. Essentially just working on the apocalypse side of the force of that army. That way, in case someone ever wants to do an apocalypse game and I get the free time, I can do a genuine apocalypse game. Because right now, the only way I can do apocalypse is if I play my Imperial Guard, only because I've got a Warhound and a Baneblade and two, what Blue Table Paint calls Hexblades. I took those Shadow Sword kits and I converted them so they'll turn into all the variants. That way I didn't have to choose and stick with the one variant. They could be whichever one that I need them to be at the time. And that's the only reason why I can get into like an apocalypse game, is because those models are so expensive. They boost me up into the apocalypse side. So I want to be able to get an army that's apocalypse level without, and the super heavies are not required to get to that apocalypse level there. Alrighty, so almost done here painting the parts that I want black. Just want to paint up this little piece here. Okay, now, because I'm getting bored of painting all this black right now, probably because of Cypher, I'm going to take a break from that and do the highlights on the skin areas here, and try to work on those a little bit. So, I'm going to first clean this off, and get out my highlight color for the skin. And which is going to be just a simple white color. And paint up little highlights, essentially just trying more defined, place more definition on like the muscled areas of the model. Then we're going to take our white paint, thin it out a little, because like most white paint, white likes to gel a lot once it's been opened. And here we go. So we're going to do this. As you can see, I'm only doing it in small areas. I'm not going over every part of the skin, just the parts that just need a little finer definition. And this is going to give them this really pale look. That'll give them like this unnatural, undead look to him, which is what we want for him, because he is dead. He's a vampire, and we want him to look like his skin is rotten and he's not a pretty vampire. He's not Lestat or Louis or Almond or Dracula. There was some, depending on which depiction you go with. Dracula sometimes comes off as being this handsome gentleman. In some versions, he's not so handsome. Or, oh man, there's that one book series. Can't remember. Damien. Another super pretty vampire. This guy's not among them. He is one of the ugly vampires, like Edward. But unlike Edward, he does not sparkle. Bring out the fine detail brush, because his face is very thin, so we're going to need a very thin brush to get the detail pieces out on him. So that's where the fine detail brush comes into play. The lines of his cheek lines here. Tip of his chin. Line across his ear. Corner of his chin. Where his eyebrows would be. If he had eyebrows. And then right along the head here, the top of the head. And now I'm not liking how thick the highlight on his head is, so I'm just wetting my brush and going along the edges. It'll help blend the white in a little bit more into his head, and there we go. So that is all we're going to have time for today. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, Fearless Gamers, take care.